put it inside me.
Can you guys hear me fine? That's a yes. All right, so we're going to watch a bunch of YouTube videos. There's a little bit of a backlog of videos to watch, so we're going to go through them. Fuck. I was scared to be cold and numb. Hot. Fucking insane temperatures we have here. I'm gonna stay in my cocoon. Am I gonna turn invisible all the time? Hopefully not. Alright, so let's get into YouTube. We're gonna start off with the Wall Street Millennial. The AI memory crisis is just getting started.
The single largest beneficiary of the AI bubble is Nvidia, which has become the most valuable company in the world. The hyperscalers and neoclouds are spending hundreds of billions of dollars to build new AI data centers. The single largest expense for these data centers is Nvidia GPUs. However, GPUs are not the only component that is required. AI data centers also contain massive amounts of computer memory. The vast majority of computer memory is created by just 3 companies: the American company Micron, and the 2 South Korean companies Samsung and SK Hynix. All 3 companies have seen their revenue and profits skyrocket over the past year, thanks to demand from AI data centers. Samsung's share price has tripled over the past year, while Micron and SK Hynix have quadrupled. While this has been great news for the company's shareholders, it's terrible news for pretty much everybody else.
Yeah.
In December of 2025, Micron announced it will stop manufacturing memory for consumer PCs.
That's
They will
happened.
instead pivot all of their capacity to data center memory, which is now yielding much larger profits. Every computer needs memory.
So crazy. Not just computers, everything. Fridges now. It's so stupid. They put it cars. We are over reliant, or and I mean it just makes stuff that breaks easier. So it's just a waste all around.
As more and more memory is diverted to AI data centers, prices of consumer RAM have skyrocketed. If you need to buy a new computer this year, you should expect to pay much more than you've ever paid in the past. Many people are already calling this a memory crisis. In this video, we'll look at why AI
Oh shit. Oh shit. Last one I had was for 2029. I'm gonna have to take that screenshot right here and add it to the collection. For fuck's sake. Ah, that's so bad. Oh no. Shortage. All right. Fuck. The last screenshot I had was saying that it was from a PowerPoint presentation, probably from some private company or one of these companies in a private meeting to whoever. They were saying that it was gonna go to 2029. I'm not even surprised that it would go even further than that to 2031, and we're gonna see it being pushed back if we're even able to hold on until then. But mm, it's not surprising.
AI data centers are so hungry for memory, how this has flowed through to the consumer PC market, and how long we can expect this memory crisis to last. The memory crisis is happening because the AI industry is pumping almost unlimited resources to chase the pipe dream of artificial general intelligence. But you don't need obscene amounts of compute and memory to make useful AI products.
That's
This
true.
is proven by today's video sponsor, Plod. I recently started using the Plod Note Pin S.
I just built a budgeting app with Base 44.
Interesting.
That's
Can it generate
dystopian as
reports?
fuck.
I can now. Anything else? Can this thing?
It's a small, wearable AI note taker that can capture, transcribe, summarize, and analyze audio recordings. You can pin it or clip it onto your shirt, wear it like a necklace, or wear it like a watch. Plot is designed for working professionals on the go, whether you're a lawyer documenting detailed information, a student, or even a YouTuber needing to record new video ideas. Plot can be a game changer. Say you're having a long conversation with your colleague. Plot will record the conversation and make notes with customizable templates such as structured summary, highlight key points, offer chapters and topics, and to-dos. You simply press the record button on the Plot device, then let it record whatever audio you want. It automatically sends the audio to your phone, where you can have it create a transcript of the audio. It gives you many options and settings for generating an AI summary of the audio. You can select one of many available summary templates, depending on the nature of the audio you recorded. You can also select from more than 100 available languages if the recording is not in English. But my favorite feature is the Ask Plod feature, where you can search across your transcripts from the last 3 months to answer questions and provide insights. It's a very high quality piece of hardware, and the quality is much better than the one on my phone. Importantly, you do not need a subscription to use Plod. They give you credits for 300 minutes per month for free, which is more than enough for most people. Plod comes with a 30-day free return policy. You won't get just how much it boosts your productivity until you actually try it. So click the link in the description to order your Plod today. Large language models like ChatGPT are trained on massive amounts of data. Text and images are simplified down to numbers which a computer can understand. Let's say you're training a large language model such as ChatGPT. The actual computation happens on a GPU. A GPU contains thousands of small compute units that can perform many simple operations at the same time. What GPUs are not good at is storing information. They can only work at full speed if the information they need is already nearby and easy to access. The amount of training data you need is massive. It could be tens or even hundreds of petabytes. You store this data on solid-state drives or SSDs. There are many companies that manufacture SSDs. Samsung is one of the biggest. The GPUs process data very quickly. To run the GPUs at max capacity, you need to feed them data very fast. The SSD can store a lot of data, but it takes a relatively long time to retrieve data from it. So you also need an intermediate stage, which is the memory. This consists of dynamic random access memory, or DRAM, which is often referred to as just RAM. While the total training data is tens or even hundreds of petabytes, you're not training on all of it at the same time. At any given time, you put a small portion of it, maybe 1 or 2 petabytes, into the DRAM. The DRAM can feed the data into the GPU at very high speeds, thus allowing the GPU
Yo, petabyte, that's a lot. 1 petabyte is 1,000 terabytes. So,
to run at max capacity. Memory is not only used in training. Once the LLM is complete and goes to market, memory is also used for inference. If you have a long conversation with ChatGPT, the conversation history is saved in DRAM at OpenAI's data center. That's how ChatGPT can remember what you're talking about during the course of your conversation. Storage and DRAM are also used in consumer PCs. Let's say you're a gamer. You download a large game like Call of Duty onto your PC. The size of the game is maybe 100 gigabytes. This sits in your SSD. As you're playing the game, it's not using the entire file at the same time. At any given time, 3 or 4 gigabytes are put into your DRAM, allowing your computer to access the data very quickly. The type of memory used in AI data centers is not exactly the same as the type of memory in your gaming PC. New AI data centers use something called high bandwidth memory, or HBM. The memory is physically welded directly onto the GPU. This is a different manufacturing technique. HBM and DRAM are very similar. They are all made by the same three companies, Micron, Samsung, and SK Hynix. HBM and DRAM are made in the same factories and require pretty much the same inputs. Demand for HBM has skyrocketed over the past couple years, so the memory manufacturers are diverting capacity away from DRAM to make more HBM. One thing to understand about memory is that it is a high fixed cost business. It costs a huge amount of money to set up a new
It was a great breakdown, by the way. Really love.
memory manufacturing plant. But once the factory is set up, the variable cost of producing each new unit of memory is relatively low. Thus, the memory manufacturers tend to always run their factories at or near maximum capacity regardless of market conditions. Supply is relatively fixed in the short term, thus leading to boom-bust cycles. If memory demand increases, prices skyrocket, and the memory manufacturers make huge profits. They respond by building new factories. The new factories can take years to begin operations. Once the new supply comes online, there's a supply glut and prices plummet. If we just look at Micron's stock price, we can see the boom-bust cycle playing out over and over again. Micron's share price will skyrocket for a couple years and then collapse. The recent AI-driven surge is the largest memory boom we've ever seen, but it follows the same pattern we've seen in the past. We can also see this in Micron's financial results. Back during COVID and the post-COVID economic boom, there was huge demand for new computers. Memory prices increased, and Micron made huge profits.
Oh yeah, everything was doubled because most people that had desktop computer had to get laptops to work from home or either get another desktop to bring at home. That was crazy.
In 2023, new supply came online. Prices collapsed, and Micron reported an operating loss. Over the past 2 years, demand has again surged thanks to the AI data center boom. In its fiscal year 2025, Micron reported record revenue. Revenue and profits are expected to surge even higher in 2026. In response to surging demand, all of the big three memory makers are building new factories, but this will take years. For example, Micron just broke ground on a new factory in New York State, but this is not scheduled to begin production until the end of 2028. There are some things they can do to increase output at their existing factories to some extent, but given the long lead time for building new factories, memory supply will be relatively fixed for the next few years. It's important to understand the magnitude of memory demand from AI. It's like nothing we've ever witnessed before. By some estimates, as much as 70% of all memory produced in 2026 will go to AI data centers. Now let's look at prices. Currently, there are two main types of DRAM that are used in consumer PCs. DDR4 is the older, cheaper version. Back in 2024 and the first half of 2025, you could buy 16 gigabytes of DDR4 DRAM for about $50. Today, the price
Holy
has tripled to
shit.
$150. The newer, more capable type of DRAM is DDR5. DDR5 has seen an even more dramatic price increase. Back in 2024, 16 gigabytes cost about $100. By today, the price has quadrupled to $400.
Here we can see, man, I think they announced it around here. And it didn't take long for it to rise. So I think the strategy was that they were going to stop gradually um, outputting as much consumer RAM, and naturally they would be able to increase their profits uh, at a slow and steady pace that would be able to be controlled. But because of the demand, and that was a unforeseen variable, it the strategy that they had put in place was aggravated, and it just all went to shit really, really quickly.
Storage prices have also increased, although not quite as much. Back in
Yeah, just like out of the announcement, because up to here, January, uh, Micron was still producing consumer RAM. They said that they were stopping in February. Now, obviously, we're past that, but you can see how dramatically it increased just from the announcement.
2024, you could buy 1 terabyte of SSD.
So you can just imagine that this, it might be a little spike now, because if it goes on to 2031, there's not going to be any more supply coming in. So what the fuck is going to happen then?
For about $100. Today, that price has more than doubled to $220. To understand how big the impact will be for consumers, let's take a look at some examples. Let's suppose you're a gamer and you want to buy this gaming laptop on Amazon. It's currently listed for $630. It has 32GB of DDR5 RAM and 1TB of SSD storage. At current prices, 32GB of DDR5 costs about $400, and 1TB of SSD costs about $220. Just the RAM and SSD in this laptop is probably worth more than $600, which is almost the entire selling price of the laptop. That's to say nothing of the CPU, GPU, and other components. So how is this possible? Most computer manufacturers have multiple months worth of inventory already stockpiled. For laptops they are selling today, the DRAM and SSDs were purchased months ago at much lower prices. Memory prices really only started to surge in November of 2025. It is expected that the cheap inventory will run out around the summer of 2026, at which point computer prices will skyrocket. If you want to buy this same laptop 6 months from now, the price could easily be $1,200 or more.
That
If
would
you're a
be
Mac
interesting
user, you
to
won't be
follow
as
up on.
impacted. Macs don't have regular RAM. They have so-called integrated memory. Apple designed its own chip called M1. The CPU, GPU, and DRAM are all integrated on the same chip. Apple purchases DRAM from Samsung and SK Hynix, so they will be impacted by higher prices. But because Apple is so big, they have long-term contracts with their suppliers. Thus, there will be a longer lag before the price increases are passed on to the consumers. The integrated memory provides certain advantages. Apple's M1 chip design can make less DRAM go farther, at least for certain applications like video editing. You get
Yeah,
more
that's
bang for
pretty
your buck.
crazy.
All computer prices will rise, but PC prices are likely to increase much more than Mac prices. Gaming PCs will be hit the hardest. On the bright side, the current
Oh
memory
my
crisis
god.
is not sustainable. It
Oh
cannot and will
my
not last forever.
god.
The likes of Microsoft, Oracle, Google, Amazon, and CoreWeave are spending hundreds of billions of dollars to build new data centers. This computing capacity will mostly be sold to OpenAI and Anthropic. OpenAI generated approximately $13 billion of revenue in 2025, while Anthropic generated approximately $4.5 billion. There's also XAI, which probably generated about $500 million.
Oh,
The
that
three
is
companies
so
combined
far
generated less than $20
behind.
billion of revenue last year. The current revenue generated by AI is not even within the same order of magnitude as the data center investments. This is all based on the premise that they'll eventually create a godlike artificial general intelligence, which will somehow be worth trillions of dollars. AGI is a science fiction fairy tale, which will never happen.
God bless your soul. Thank you so much, Wall Street Millennial.
For the moment, venture capital firms are pouring in hundreds of billions of dollars based on this false promise.
We saw Larry Fink at the WEF at Davos at the World Economic Forum. He was basically begging people to invest their pension funds into AI. That is so fucking stupid. That is so fucking stupid. It's a whole bunch of shit we got here.
The memory makers have also bought into the AGI pipe dream. They're going all in on AI. Micron has stopped making consumer DRAM altogether.
Oh my god. Okay, so Yann LeCun was replaced by fuck, I think his name is Alexander Wang. I'm sorry. Ah, fuck. Let me look it up real quick. Right? Is that him? Meta AI. Alexander Wang. Okay. So apparently there's a rumor that he's not Mark Zuckerberg is not happy with his work anymore. So I guess replacing Jan, I mean, didn't amount to anything.
Together. They're putting all their chips on AI. While the memory makers are minting huge profits in the short term, they're also investing billions of dollars into new factories, which will only come online years down the road. By the time the new capacity comes online, the VC money will probably have run out and the AI bubble will pop. This will result in a memory glut, the likes of which we have never seen before. As we explained earlier, the memory market has always been defined by boom-bust cycles. The AI investment bubble has created the largest memory boom ever. This is setting up for the largest bust ever. Alright guys, that wraps it up for this video. What do you think?
How do we short positions? How to short a company? I gotta understand that shit where people... What? Somebody here is speculating that Micron would hit $900? That's a lot, guys. Great video, amazing videos. Love his videos. He makes the best of videos. Let's watch good work. Let's talk about Silicon Valley.
Put it inside me.
Why not?
That's what Silicon Valley is saying about something called
No.
peptides.
Oh.
These ostensibly magic drugs aren't exactly legal and are often sourced from unregulated factories in China, but that hasn't stopped them from exploding in popularity amongst in-the-know techies and corporate bigwigs, with promises that they can do things like burn our fat, tan our skin, focus our brains, improve our sleep, and horny our libidos. And it's promises like these that are just now inspiring normies to start poking themselves with the magic juice.
Oh,
Yet one question remains. What even is this stuff?
right?
Is this all gonna end really bad?
Probably.
Okay, that was 2 questions, but...
Oh, got him. That's a third one.
Simply put, peptides are chains of amino acids that help your body perform various functions, from healing a muscle tear, growing skin cells, or producing an entire above-ground pool's worth of testosterone, as mine's been known to do. There are some famous
Wow.
peptides you've probably heard of, like insulin and oxytocin. Peptides like these are created inside of the body using proteins that we consume through food. But the things that we'll be talking about today are peptides that are created synthetically in a lab and are then injected straight into your bod with a needle. You might be
Ooh.
familiar with glucagon-like peptide 1, or
No.
GLP-1. Drugs like
Oh,
Ozempic or
yeah.
Wegovy inject a version of GLP-1 into your body, which helps you lose weight. These shots are legal and have, quite frankly, been everywhere the last few years. But the
Oh.
popularity has spurred a hunt to find new injectable peptide drugs that might also yield other health benefits, which is how we've reached the more colloquial umbrella term of peptides, referring to stuff like GLP-1s, but also dozens of different experimental and off-label shots with names that, when spoken, make you sound like a total droid.
I'm on Retta, Tesamorelin, and then NAD nasal.
IGF-1,
Jesus Christ.
EPC 157, GLP-3, GHKCU,
GHK,
TB500, Retatrutide,
Melanotan 1,
CJC,
EPC 157,
GLP-1, N-acetylsaline, GHKCU, BBC 157, DSIP, MOTC, Tesamorelin, IGF-1L3, epithalon, thymosin alpha-1, ARA-290, Virilantide, PT141 oxytocin.
He sounds on cocaine.
What? Since these shots are unregulated and understudied, not a ton is scientifically known about what peptides will do to your body. Yet peptide takers hope that stuff like BPC 157 will repair their muscles, GHKCU will reduce their wrinkles, dihexia will help them focus more, ipamorelin will help them sleep better, and slytherin will help them diabolically scheme against the boy who lived.
Good.
Sometimes
work.
these peptides are sold individually, but they can also be combined to create so-called
Yeah, I've seen that mixed up.
stacks, or groups of peptides
Oy,
taken at
oy,
the
oy.
same time to get different effects. Many pep pushers that corner you in the gym shower will talk about their own unique stack, although certain ones come with fun nicknames like the Wolverine or Glow Stacks.
There's such a broad category of things being sold as peptides that it's hard to really paint with a broad brush, because on the one hand, the GLPs, those are safe. People have been taking those for, decades now. So we're currently in the early adopter phase, just as we've been with any other kind of like new development where there's the first crazy guy to get a car in the late 19th century. And to be clear, like there certainly are risks that are, because a lot of these things haven't been studied at all really in a clinical setting.
So we don't know necessarily if the people taking peptides now are like the first crazy guy to ride a car, as you said, or like the first guy to give their baby opium, essentially.
Whoa.
We don't know that, no.
Ezra Marcus is a reporter with glasses who wrote a piece about his own experience uncovering the world of peptides before then deciding to put them inside of himself.
I wanted to go through the kind of like process
Whoa.
that any consumer of this stuff would go through. So I went through two different routes. The first was I went to a above board regulated, to some extent, med spa, and I said, I'm a reporter, I'm interested in peptides, like what do you got for me? They basically were like, well, we have this thing called NAD for you. The med spas generally are limited to what they can legally obtain. Then I was like, well, let me go through the sort of other channel that people are engaging in with this stuff, which is what you're seeing more from your kind of teenage looks maxers. What I did was I went on Reddit, on the peptides Reddit channel, and I just started DMing people like, hey, I want to talk to you about peptides. And some guy was like, cool, join my Discord. And there was a representative from a Chinese factory manufacturer in the Discord who would sort of handle all their orders and claim to be testing the samples, and it was all just sort of, she was just selling directly to these people. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just buy the cheapest amount of retatrutide that they sold, which was 10 5-milligram vials for like $150. Sent her Bitcoin, and 2 weeks later, it showed up on my doorstep.
Beep,
Labeled,
boop,
of course, for research
beep,
purposes
boop.
only.
Folks, does your investing app feel like a game? Well, if you're looking for a broker that doesn't also seem like your bookie, I invite you to try out Public. Public is the investing platform for folks who take their investing seriously. It's a place to build a real portfolio, one for the long haul. We're talking stocks, ETFs, bonds, options, crypto, treasuries.
4.20%.
You know what?
Nice.
You can even build your own investable index with AI. You can just type in a prompt, something like renewable energy companies with high free cash flow, or maybe companies that make
Short
things I can actually
micron.
touch with my hands. Then boom, Public's AI screens thousands of stocks and builds an index that's all your own. You can back test it against the S&P 500, refine the holdings, invest it with real money, the whole kit and caboodle. Kit and caboodle? Yeah, it's the whole thing. Go to public.com/goodwork to sign up. Public will even give you an uncapped 1% match when you transfer your portfolio from another brokerage. That's public.com/goodwork. Thanks very much to our friends at Public for sponsoring this video. Now, the vast majority of peptides that are being hawked on the talk are not federally regulated and have been listed by the FDA as maybe being harmful, which is why you'll often hear influencer types referring to them online as peppers to bypass social media censorship. Pretty slick stuff. It's also why many of the peptides that you'll see available for online purchase are listed as being for research purposes and come with vague 5-star reviews from unnamed sources. Now, all this is to say that you can't go out there and just cop peptides willy-nilly. Instead, you gotta do it the 21st century American way. Shady supply chains via Chinese plug.
One of those vials sold through the kind of more public-facing middlemen would probably cost like $200, and each one was costing me like $15. That's how cheap.
Yeah, from the Chinese factory.
There are probably millions of dollars being made on just flipping this stuff to American consumers.
I sort of came to peptides through the San Francisco tech culture beat more so. I've been convinced both over the course of reporting and then also publishing the piece and seeing it do quite well. I think that 2026 is going to be the year of what I call consumer biotech.
Well, would you look at that? It's Jasmine's son, an independent reporter based in the metropolitan charging port for virgins known as San Francisco. Jasmine recently wrote a piece for the New York Times about how peptides from China were taking Silicon Valley by storm, given their popularity amongst biohackers and people who like getting attention for saying things like BPC 3.141.
I mean, here I'm not super. I don't really agree with the biohacker team. You wouldn't call bodybuilders biohackers.
In San Francisco, the internet is in fact real life. So peptides first showed up as a viral internet meme that was going around Twitter/X starting about June or July of last year, where I started hearing that everybody has a Chinese peptide dealer now. And it sort of became one of the little symbols of San Francisco, along with, coding agents and Waymos and everything else, that everyone started talking about Chinese peptides.
Yeah, that is so weird. All these tweets, the way they were normalizing it, so fucked up.
Even to trying a new browser.
I mean, you match that up with we know for a fact that there has been social media psyops, and how much of that is it? That would be a interesting thing to know.
Trying a new app, like they are the ones who want to be beta testing, they want to be early adopting, and yeah, sometimes you're going to have some bugs if you do that, but how are you going to be on the frontier? How are you going to get the benefits and the edge that nobody else is, unless you are also willing to accept those risks?
I have a whole peptide drawer in my fridge. I call it the girl dinner drawer.
Right. Okay. By touching these, am I going to explode?
No.
Or what is
You're safe.
this? What do we have here?
So I brought you Reditrutide.
This is all Reditrutide.
This is all Reditrutide.
Tori Pastore rhymes and is the founder of a marketing consultancy called Soup. Last year, she hosted a peptide-themed rave in San Francisco, which I would have attended had I not been preoccupied with my steroid quinceañera. Tori says that she's been taking peptides for about the last year and a half.
I really like hanging out online and seeing what the people in weird niche communities get up to and what they get excited about. I got engaged and was really wildly overweight. I was really, really sick. I had a lot of things wrong with me. And I went to the doctor, and this was right when all of the Ozempic and everything was first hitting the scene, and everyone was like, this is amazing. And I told
hitting
the
the scene.
I just don't want to hate
What the
myself in my wedding
fuck?
pictures. I know I have a lot of weight to lose. Can we try this? And she said, yeah, no problem. Prescribed it for me. And then I went to the pharmacy to go pick it up. And because my BMI was 34.7 and not 35, the pharmacy told me that my insurance wouldn't cover it and it was going to be $1,000 a month. And I said, that's insane. So I called my friend, and instead of going through the pharmacy and just doing it that way, he'd started contacting all these labs in China and being like, how do I get this over here? How do I make these things myself? How do I give people access to this? So he started using himself as a lab rat. I trusted him. I was like, you know what, if nobody else, then, at least he's doing it on himself first. First peptide shot. I had side effects that I would say 99% of people do not have, and it was still worth it to me. But for that first probably 2 or 3 months, I barely ate anything. I was throwing up every day. I pooped my pants twice in one weekend in public.
But haven't we all?
But haven't we all? Also, to answer your other question of what other peptides have.
To each their own, right?
I did a round of copper peptides.
Copper?
Mm-hmm.
Like what the penny's made of?
Yeah. You need that too. It's actually, the copper ones are really crazy. I'll bring you some next time. They're purple. They look like a video game item.
What does that do to you?
It's really good for your hair and for your nails and your skin, and a lot of the girls are taking them now.
But you're not taking that anymore?
No, I did a month of that.
And why'd you stop?
There's such a thing as copper toxicity, and you don't want to do that full time. It's not one that you should just do all the time.
Now, folks, I imagine that the more you
Jesus Christ, what the fuck is wrong with people? You need iron, right? Are you gonna chew on a piece of metal?
The more wary of them you become. I get it. I'm a guy who likes to keep his blood clean in case anyone needs to drink it. But those who are more bullish on peptides say that the market for these things already goes well beyond the Silicon Valley biohacking types who are cool experimenting with Chinese Sigma heroin.
I used to get sick maybe like 4 or 5 times a year. I work hard, I don't sleep enough, I push my body. Now if I'm about to get sick, I inject Thymosin Alpha 1 and I don't get sick.
Max Macchioni is the co-founder of the health startup Superpower. With Superpower, Max believes that he's creating the first in the next generation of pharma companies, something he's calling Pharma 2.0, and he sees peptides as potentially a major part of that future.
Peptides are going to be, I think, a $1 trillion category. Injections are now a viable form of drug delivery, which opens up the kind of the drug purview to include other injectable peptides. And I think over the coming years, we're going to see many GLP-1-like drugs, but for everything else, come to market. I think many people
What
see
market?
these broadly as these kind of fringe compounds. And
Bro, this to me, it looks like your fucking stoner friend that he has a collection of bongs and he wants to try all the fucking different shit, and his whole personality is just that is just odd. Have you seen? Do you know people that's shooting peptides? That sounds like something out of the ordinary.
the reality is most things that are new start kind of fringe and then slowly become mainstream, right? I often recall that aphorism of the future is already here, but not evenly distributed. And I think many of the smartest people I know, many of the smartest biologists I know and doctors I know are using peptides, are familiar with peptides. Now, there are risks. I don't recommend people blindly take peptides. I certainly don't recommend they order them from research use only sites online. I think if you have the foundations of health in check, that should be the default for everyone. That's what men used to be like, and now the modern world makes that really hard because we're surrounded by a lot of things that impact our sex hormones and our androgen system in a negative, endocrine system in a negative way.
Well, I don't know anything about that. Personally, I'm fucking constantly. But I do have a sympathetic ear, Max, and it certainly sucks to hear about all these things you and these sexless men are going through. My advice? Take a woman out to a nice jazz dinner. Pooh Bell's on 14th, that's a good spot. Once you go in there, ask for Jason. He'll show you the right table.
If you don't know, poubelle means garbage in French.
It gets nice and dark, and Raoul starts tickling the ivories for his first solo of the night. I want you to look into her eyes and pull back a strand of her chestnut hair. Ask her about the last man to break her heart. Ask her what you can do to mend it. Then, when the timing is right, I want you to put out a cigarette into that cheesecake she ordered and give her a kiss. Not one that says I want you, but one that says I need you. You need me. We need us. Tonight, now, and forever. And if none of it works, just maybe try some peptides.
Yeah, well, I couldn't be more against this BS.
Oh, okay. Who's this fun sucker? Eric Topol is a cardiologist and director of the Scripps Research Translational Institute. He's also the author of multiple New York Times bestsellers, as well as the Ground Truths newsletter, where he covers various topics in the medical field, including his skepticism about peptides.
I'd love to see any of these peptides proven to be beneficial. If we find something that helps patients and people, I'm all for it. There are no trials that are being done. It's just all done through word of mouth and promotion and longevity clinics and that kind of stuff. When we inject a drug in our body, we should know that it's safe, that it is what it says it is, and it's effective. That only can be done through clinical trials. Anything short of that is not science. It's just...
Yeah, it's like astrology for dopes. People that fucking inject themselves. That is so crazy.
Anecdotes, it's just bro science or whatever you want to call it. It's not the real deal. You don't know whether you're injecting yourself with a placebo would give you the same sense of whatever it is that you're wanting to feel. There's a lot of money here. I don't know many peptides that are less than a couple $100 a shot. When you put up a few $100s for something each time every month you go get it, talk about confirmation bias. And I don't care about the pushback. I'm just telling the truth. I'm giving the facts.
Now, folks, when Instagram told me to get on Threads, I said, fuck that shit. But in an age of rising tech skepticism, peptides seem to be a rare moment of a Silicon Valley trend bleeding out into the general public.
Hearing the range of people for whom this is very appealing made me think that, like, yeah, this is going to be a huge thing. I think people
Just do classical steroids. The fuck?
In order to get hotter, to get healthier, and especially with decreasing amounts of trust and frustration with the American medical establishment, people are, in a relative sense, thinking like, well, why not sort of trust this influencer in this alternate route instead?
Are you worried about possible side effects?
You know, people get their blood work done, and usually people that are on a lot of stuff, you know, there are some metrics that are very high compared to a normal person. That, you know, it creates more risk for your health. Who's to say, right?
Like pooping my pants again?
Sure.
Well, so people, even if this took 5 years off my life, at the end of my life, it would be worth it for what it's done for me.
Indeed, peptides seem to be a product that speak to our time like no other. An easy-to-use drug that's sometimes a really fun shade of purple and forgoes government approval, thus leaving the gamble of our health up to us, the people. Those of us inundated every day with images of seemingly regular citizens with perfect hair, perfect skin, and somehow 8 different abs on their stomach despite having a desk job at Salesforce. The folks who look at these substances weigh the pros and cons and still have the risk-taking appetite to give a Discord moderator a few Bitcoin to cop an order from China, wait a week for delivery, swirl up some dust in a vial of water, take out a needle, look in the mirror and say, hey, guess it's worth a shot.
Oh,
I'm Dan Toomey.
so good. So good.
I think
Insane.
it began in bodybuilding.
Actually, it was bodybuilders and these like CrossFit type communities
Right.
who first started experimenting with peptides.
If I talk to the average bodybuilder, is it safe to assume that they're using peptides?
I mean, I can't speak for all bodybuilders,
Sure.
but I think competitively speaking, like the ones that are doing well competitively, 99% of them are.
How did you...
Because if you have to cheat for a competition, and what they use to see if you're cheating is trying to analyze for something that's not present in your body, but you do have something else that creates the same effect, you're able to cheat your way through that competition. So, how about that? How about that? All right. I am ready now. I hope I'm not gonna be yelled at too much. Drama Queen and Halo Haley TikToks that make you never want to become a parent. Oy, oy, oy.
Third time filming this intro. We can't get it right. For some reason, she's acting like I'm a guest. Like she's like a celebrity TV show host. Yeah.
That is a better setup than my overlay.
In the flesh with me, like, can you
Fuck my
believe
life.
it? You know what? People are still gonna be all up in the comments like, oh my god, I didn't know you guys were wait, you guys don't look alike. And it's like, yeah, probably because I've got like 5 kilos of makeup on my face
also,
and she's just this natural beauty. Like, yeah.
But also, have you ever seen, other than like literal identical twins, have you ever seen like sisters or brothers or whatever that look identical and alike? That just doesn't really happen to me.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
Our brother doesn't even look like us.
Caitlin and I are finally collabing.
Yes. yes, the long-awaited video. I don't know about Hailey specifically, but I know for myself personally, I don't foresee having children in the future, like at all. I can't do it. Like, what's your thoughts on having kids?
My thought is that, like, for example, I'll have like a friend come over, right? And I absolutely love them. I adore them. I'm having so much fun. But it gets to a point after the first day where I'm like, you need to go. Like, I love you, but you need to go.
I need my space back.
That's what it's like for me. It's
15 seconds.
like, I have this kid, wow.
I do not want you in my home at all.
Like a day where they're there.
They're here every day. They can't go away. And then I just feel like it's unfair even when they turn 18 to just be like, get the out of my house. Like, I don't even want you here anymore.
Struggle to show up.
But that's very cultural, right? Because there are some other cultures where family is, you know, very tightly knit together, and there's a very different approach.
Every single day for the same thing. That's just me. I wouldn't be able to be like, oh my god, this is like exciting every single day.
Literally, because there are days where I can't even show up for myself.
If I want to go out to the mall, I can do that. I like knowing if I just by some whim want to go to the movie theaters, I can go.
But because I also don't imagine Hailey having kids either, because you are such like a, how do I put it?
Crazy
how do I put it? It's like introvert and extrovert like mixed together. You never know what you're getting on the
An
day.
ambivert? Is that what you mean?
There's also just a bunch of shit. Nobody is always introverted. Nobody is always extroverted. Everybody is ambivert. So this is just natural nature, right? Because you have introverts that have extrovert tendencies with people that they are close to. It's just depending on the context, right? So, I mean, oh yeah, but psychology, that's a bunch of hocus pocus.
I can talk to people just easily. I can do anything in public easily.
Hailey really is the life of the party,
but
if you will.
it's mostly, do I want her today?
Yeah.
Do I want to do that?
So today we are going to be looking at some TikToks that really.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Yeah, we're gonna get triggered.
Want to have children, you never want to bring any of them little crotch demons onto the earth because it's utterly disgusting what they're going to be doing in.
You know what's a good reason to say that? Me personally, when I came out, I ripped my mother's vagina. She needed, I think it was 13. Fuck, how do you say that? Whatever. Oh, stitches. 13 stitches.
Today's video, right? Oh yeah.
That's rough.
Like after this?
That's scary.
Even people with kids aren't gonna want them anymore. Your toddler flings a booger in 2 pounds of meat cooking, and you can't find it anywhere. What do you?
What would you do? I mean, just cook it way longer until it's all crunchy and you won't even notice.
Okay, my first question, how is that even a question? How do you not know what to do after you see your child flick a booger into the dinner? Why are you pulling out your phone, recording it, and being like, internet, what should I do about this? Throw it away!
Yeah, throw it away. Like, I know.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. All right. Do you know how much that amount of meat costs? That's rough. Like, food inflation is a bitch. You know inflation is bad. That's the thing. That's the actual thing. You know inflation is so fucking bad when you're thinking about eating the fucking meat with a whole big ass booger in it.
That you made the thing, right? You cooked that bun in your oven. But I feel like boogers are the one thing that I don't want to be fucking eating. No, I don't want to be eating.
Yeah. I knew I was gonna get yelled at.
Eating any excrements from you, little Jamesy boy.
Another question that I have is how he even did that to begin with. Because she must have been holding him while cooking the dinner.
And he's just been like, oh my god, there is something huge in here.
Your
Just a
dad.
little bit of extra spice, little
That was
added
deep.
flavor.
If you're holding him and you're making dinner, just put the kid down for a second. He's gonna live. He's gonna survive. You don't need to be holding little James every single minute of the day. He will be okay while you're trying to cook.
Very contextual. Oh man. They yell at me a lot. I didn't do anything.
Mince for dinner, okay? I promise you that.
I don't know the name of it because I, once again, not a parent. We don't even have like kid cousins or siblings or anything like that.
Nieces
like
and nephews, bro.
oh wait, what did I say? What did I say?
I don't even remember. You're like, I don't know the name of it.
Oh no, kid cousins.
Yeah, nieces and nephews. Kid cousins.
Okay, no. But like I barely know any children. So I don't know that thing, but there's like that thing that you put babies and toddlers in.
Right on.
Do babies even produce snot?
Yes.
I feel
Yeah, like ungodly amounts, like inhumane amounts.
No, because I feel like if you're a baby, you're not really going to be trying to add extra flavor into the dinner
Yeah, but
tonight.
it's still there.
You know?
It's still there.
Did you know that I was actually reading comments under this video and they said
That's what I said, right?
that they wouldn't ever
Based.
throw the food away? Which is like, I get it. If you're really tight on money and this is the only food you have, I feel like you just have to kind of suck it up.
But also, can I just ask a question?
Yeah, well, it's also just a one piece of it, right? It depends, okay? Because is that even a true story? First of all, because a child, a 2-year-old, the mucus is probably not gonna be like a hard piece, right? Usually it would be a whole bunch of snotty liquid pouring out, right? Like slime, like the Nickelodeon slime, right? That would be the most likely, in my opinion. Then you just keep it boiling and eventually it's gonna dissipate, evaporate, it's gonna go away. If it's actually a hard booger, it doesn't matter. You act like nothing happened. This is the exact same thing as execution pelotons, where you had multiple soldiers side by side, and there's only one gun with a bullet, the other ones have blanks, and everybody's shooting at the same time. You don't know who did it. Everybody did it. Nobody did it. So when you're going to eat, you're going to feed your child, yourself, everybody, and that's how it is.
What do? You watched it happen, which means you see it in the food. You're telling me you saw that happen and you're just like, oh, let's keep mixing.
Yeah, why are you mixing?
You don't have to throw it away. You don't have to throw it away. You can just see it happen because you saw it happen and take it out.
But what if she was already mixing and Jamesy boy flicked it in the fucking food?
Okay, that's a different story.
Yeah, then we're gonna have
Yeah,
to spoon and we're gonna
jumping to conclusions a bit here.
I just feel like parents nowadays are a lot different to what they used to be.
Elbow to
when
the
we were that
face.
age and our mum was
was cooking dinner for us, you know what she would do? She would leave us alone to our own devices. And we would leave her alone because she was doing something important. This is why I feel like it's important to have multiple kids. I really feel for only children. I feel like it helps if you've got siblings to say, get the fuck out of the kitchen and let me cook dinner.
Oh, yeah. That's why I have Caitlin.
POV, you're making a cranberry orange sourdough loaf and your toddler adds hydration. We watch this thing spit in the food. What is it with kids wanting to add their excrements to the recipe? That wasn't in the recipe
but you know
whatsoever.
what's crazy? You know what's crazy? If a kid watched their parent do that, they go, oh, why did you do that? I'm not eating that. So why do you do that then?
Yeah, isn't it interesting? Like,
Fuck. I can't. Yeah, I don't want to be yelled at today. I'm sorry. Grok 4.20. That was a while ago. 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 Oh, that's interesting. They solved AI hallucinations. Let's see what this is all about.
We've all been there. We ask an AI a question, and it confidently gives us the wrong answer. It just made things up and it blatantly lies to us. This is a phenomenon called hallucinating, and it remains one of the most frustrating bottlenecks in AI right now. But finally, these researchers from Tsinghua University cracked the code on AI hallucinations. They identified where and how exactly hallucinations happen and how to solve it. This is one of the most insightful papers in the past few months, so that's exactly what we're going to go over in this video. Now, this is quite a technical paper, but as always, I'm going to break this down into simple terms so that it's easy to understand for anyone. Let's jump right in. Let's start by going over why it's so annoying and difficult to troubleshoot hallucinations. First of all, large language models are designed to be incredibly helpful, natural, and authoritative. So when it lies, it doesn't sound like a lie. Its response seems so confident it reads like a fact. You inherently trust it, so it's already quite challenging to identify when an AI model hallucinates unless you know the answer beforehand. Plus, the problem of hallucinations is extremely widespread. No model is immune to this. Here are some staggering statistics. So in the paper, they point out that GPT 3.5, which was, the model behind the original ChatGPT explosion, it was shown to hallucinate 40% of citation-based factuality evaluations. 40%! And even the next best model, GPT-4, hallucinated 28.6% of the time. More than a quarter. Think about what that means when you're using these tools for research. More than a quarter of the time you ask an advanced model for factual cited information, it's just making stuff up. You might be thinking that more recent models hallucinate less, right? You might assume that scaling
Yeah,
up
the
models,
numbers
making them
rise.
larger or training them on more data or focusing them on more complex reasoning would organically solve this issue. Or what if you throw more compute at it? Maybe that would solve hallucinations? Well, the paper specifically highlights DeepSeek R1, which is a new generation of thinking models. This is built specifically to think longer before they speak. They possess incredible complex problem-solving skills, and yet they still show very high hallucination rates. So it turns out that larger models...
Yeah, anyways, I think this is based on the same paper that we saw earlier this week.
Back to this paper, the researchers hypothesized that only a small part of these neurons in a model's neural networks actually cause the hallucinations. Specifically, they called these neurons H neurons, which stands for hallucination-associated neurons. They set out to definitively prove that among the hundreds of millions of neurons in an AI, there's a specific identifiable subset linked to hallucinations. And actually, to find these H neurons, they couldn't just casually ask the model. They had to figure out how to isolate the specific signal of a lie from all the other billions of calculations happening in the AI's architecture simultaneously, which is incredibly noisy. You can't just ask an AI a question once and then see that it hallucinates and then look at which neurons fire and assume that you've caught the lying neurons. This might be just a statistical fluke. So the methodology that they used was quite genius. They started with a well-established dataset called Trivia QA, which has lots of general knowledge questions. But instead of the standard practice of asking the AI model these questions and assessing the output, here they ask the model the exact same question 10 different times. This is to ensure they were testing the model's true internal factual boundaries. And specifically, they set the model's temperature setting to 1. Let's pause on this temperature setting for a second because I want to make sure you understand the mechanics here. This is basically the AI model's creativity dial. A temperature of 0 means the AI gives the exact same mathematically most likely word every time. It's totally deterministic and robotic, very predictable, but cranking the temperature up to 1 or an even higher value injects more randomness. It forces the model to explore different vocabulary, different sentence structures, and different paths of logic. It shakes things up and makes it more creative. So by setting the temperature to 1 and asking the same question 10 times, they're essentially forcing the AI to think on its feet and generate its answer from scratch in 10 separate independent trials. Now, after asking the AI model tons of questions 10 times each with the creativity slider set to high, the researchers still had to do some additional filtering. In fact, out of the thousands of these 10-round questions, the researchers threw almost all of them away and only kept the absolute extreme.
I mean, it's a little weird, no? Because if they're doing that and they're trying to measure the output, but they don't have what's inside per se, how can they confirm that whenever they're asking these questions, it is actually passing through different neural pathways?
Green. Let me show you the specific model statistics directly from the paper because the scale of this is quite mind-blowing. Remember, we're talking about models that have billions of parameters and hundreds of thousands of individual neurons in their networks. Huge systems. But the researchers found that these H neurons make up a shockingly small percent of this. So here, if they use Mistral 7b, they found that 0.35 not percent, but parts per thousand of these neurons were associated with hallucinations. If you look at a larger model, Mistral 24b, you can see that 0.01 parts per thousand were in charge of hallucinations. Similarly, if you look at the much larger Llama 3.3 7 billion parameter model, 0.01 parts per thousand of its neurons were actually associated with hallucinations. This is actually shockingly small. Remember, we're talking about models that have billions of parameters and hundreds of thousands of individual neurons in their networks. To put this parts per thousand figure in perspective, out of the millions of complex computational pathways available to these larger models, less than 1 in 100,000 neurons are associated with hallucinations. Less than 1 in 100,000. This proves that hallucinations are actually very localized. it's a very small and specific circuit. Another shocking finding is how these H neurons fire when it hallucinates across a ton of different topics. They didn't just fire when it hallucinates on the topics from the original Trivia QA questions, which it was trained on, but the researchers also rigorously tested it on some other questions like NQ and BioASQ, which is like packed with specialized, complex biomedical stuff. And yet, the
All right, so hallucination is when they give an answer that is presented as the truth and it's unable to correct it, or it's not true, right? Was mentioned one time where the model was outputting a number that it knew was wrong but was unable to output. It was very, very peculiar. But if we just base the fact that, hallucination is giving an output that is wrong, what do you do when it exists in the training data? We saw that with the emojis, where it hallucinated emojis that never existed because a lot of people on Reddit had the, what's it called? The thing with the cornucopia, whatever. No, I don't know. Is it going to be able to, fix all types of hallucinations? Should probably listen to all of it. I don't think it's a good moment for me to make videos. I'll probably get back and play a little bit of Arc Raiders a little later. So I'll talk to you then.